Hello, I'm Aaron Adame. I grew up basically in the teenage years just doing drugs and doing all the things that kids weren't supposed to be doing, but I was doing it. And when I was 20, I had basically ran all the way through and was just living that lifestyle. And then I was dating a girl who was a Christian, and she was trying to get me to go to church all the time, but I didn't really want to go. One time she was leaving, and I would always say I would go to church, but never with her. And so what happened was she had left to go on a trip to Chicago, and so I was basically used it as an opportunity to get high that day without the pressure of her being there. And so I did. I got high and didn't know what I was going to do the rest of that day. And all of a sudden this random thought came in my head to go to church. And I found myself by the afternoon taking a shower and trying to sober up. And so I called my sister and asked her if she knew of a church, and she told me about Harvest. I drove down and found some young people. And so I was still basically kind of stoned and at least feeling the effects of it. I mean, I had no idea what the message was about. It did not relate to me whatsoever, but then Pastor Steve got into sharing the gospel at the end when he was going into communion. And for the first time ever, it made sense to me that God loved me and wanted a relationship with me. Steve didn't even get to praying with people, and I knew what I needed to do, and I just bowed my head and prayed and asked Christ into my life right then and just said, Lord, I'll follow you from this day forward. And basically I've been doing that for 8 years. But after a year, I was still struggling with things and didn't understand why. And so I went up to Steve to pray for me. And in typical Steve fashion at the time, he didn't listen to a word I was saying, and instead said, hey, Aaron, you need to get into leadership. And I was like, okay, you know, like this sounds cool. And from there, those certain things that I was lacking in my life or in my spiritual life, they were getting solved. And you know, I wasn't focused on myself anymore and my problems, but yet I was able to help others, and God's grace was just pouring out through me. It was really awesome. And it was a year after that I got hired at the church as an intern. And right before the Israel trip in 2010, Pastor Greg also asked me to come on staff as a pastor this last November. So just a pastor for a few months, and I couldn't believe it, but I was just amazed by God's grace. And now I oversee the small groups ministry, and I also oversee prison and convalescent and hospital visitations, and then I counsel on Fridays and Saturdays for walk-ins. I think if there was one thing I'm really passionate about, it would be community, and I think that's probably because going back to my sort of walk and my story, and that was when I got plugged in, the thing that really helped me in my walk was gaining those relationships. If you're, you know, like I was, and you're sitting in a pew and you feel like, man, I would love to get more connected to my church. I would love to get more connected to other believers in my church, and I feel like I have something to offer to a group of people, and or I would love to have a group of people pour into me, then community groups is an awesome opportunity to do that. And it's as simple as just signing up, joining up with a group, and just doing life. And we can use our spiritual gifts in doing things like that. So I want to challenge you, you know, to be a part of a small group, maybe lead one or just attend one and see what they're like, and you will be blessed, I promise you. Hi, I'm Aaron Adame, and I'm here to serve you.